How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, March 8, 2018. Figure4online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. Lots of news to get into here on a Wednesday, including the New Japan Anniversary Show, which was actually taking place as we did Monday night's show. And last two matches, apparently great. Good show overall. Dave, take us through this show.
Yeah, it was really a fun show. It was like a 3-hour show, and it was easy to watch. It was one of those things where, like, every match was good, but it kind of got progressively better. And the last two matches were excellent. So yeah, the first match. Here it is. The first match was a 10-man tag. It was Jushin Liger, Kushida, Tiger Mask, Hiroshi Tenzan, Reisuke Taguchi against Ren Narita, Tetsuhiro Yagi, Shota Umino, Tomoyuki Oka, and Yuji Nagata. And this is, like every New Japan opening match, 7-8 minutes, rush through spot after spot, but the crowd was into it. And, these matches are usually about like the young guys shining until they lose. And Yagi and Umino especially looked great, but everyone, their timing is just good. The crowd's behind them. These are really exciting. This was like a really good match for what it was. Good hot opener. Man, Umino's all of them really are good, but Umino's going to be something. I mean, he's only been wrestling a couple months. He is really good. He's also already got a bad neck, so there you go.
Great.
Yeah. Juice Robinson, David Finlay, and Toa Henare against Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Toru Yano. The highlight and focal point was Ishii against Henare. Henare is another one who's just, everything he does looks good. His selling's good. His fire is good. His timing's good. These guys are just so technically strong. And, it's... I hate to be like a broken record, but I watched this and then I watched the guys at the Performance Center. It's just, it's like these guys are years ahead. These guys, Henare's been wrestling a couple of years. I mean, he wrestled in New Zealand for a little while, and then he's probably been in New Japan for a couple of years. But like, the guys in the first match, these guys were Narita, Yagi, Umino have all been wrestling one. Even Oka started like a year ago. So it's like these guys are 4 rookies, and I mean they're better than guys with 4 years of developmental, as far as the wrestling goes, and as far as the fire goes and things like that. So, Goto used the so in the first match, Kushida used the armbar on Umino to win. The second match, Goto used the GTR on Henare. It wasn't quite as good as the first. In fact, this was a good match, but I would also say it was probably the weakest match on the show. The next match was the junior tag team titles with Sho and Yo against Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Desperado, and Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi. And, I mean, the work was real good. Sho and Yo looked good. They're all good. All 6 guys look good. But the problem, it was a lot of the Suzuki-Gun interference, and the finish, I just couldn't get into the finish. I thought the finish really took the match down. First, you had the mist, and it's the same thing we always talk about. You got the mist in the face. Bushi blew it in Sho's face. So Sho's got mist all over his face. And the referee may not have seen the mist, but he sees the mist all over the guy's face. And it's kind of like you just stand there and do nothing. I mean, they always make their refs look bad anyway. And then Kanemaru spit whiskey into Bushi's eyes, so he couldn't get the pin. And then Kanemaru gave a low blow and pinned Sho. So Kanemaru and Desperado are now the junior tag champs. And Sho and Yo like have that young guy charisma thing. The crowd's really behind them. They like them. They've got and all that. Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi are a fun team to watch because Hiromu Takahashi is one of the best wrestlers in the world. And they got the belts on Kanemaru and Desperado, who are Kanemaru is technically good, but he's just kind of there. And Desperado is also good, but they both have like a real lack of charisma. So them as champions it doesn't interest me. You know, with all the talent in New Japan, they're just guys that kind of get in the way in a lot of ways. I don't say get in the way, but they don't. I mean, they're good, but especially Kanemaru, but it's just no one. You know, they don't bring any excitement to the table. Then Sanada against Yoshihashi, which is two guys that just, I don't know. Yoshihashi really, he tries, but there's something missing. And Sanada, with the right opponent, obviously, he's phenomenal. And he was actually quite good in this match. But it's like I don't know, there was something missing. Athletically, it was good, and actually turned out to be a really good match. They were getting in, and, you know, Sanada kept going for the skull end. Yoshihashi even got the skull end, and Sanada flipped over and got his own skull end. And he ended up winning with a moonsault, Sanada did. And, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, it was real good, but I know some people didn't like it because the guys don't really have great facial expressions. I mean, at least Sonata doesn't anyway. But, you know, they worked a good match. And Naito and Taichi, which was really good. It was actually one of the better Taichi matches I've ever seen. This could be like something where it's like, I don't know if Naito being so good kind of deceives you. Because when it was over, I had this idea that, like, as bad as Taichi was as a junior heavyweight, he looked like he was pretty good as a heavyweight. Because, you know, as a junior heavyweight, there's so much of it is about speed and doing a lot of stuff. And as a heavyweight, you work a lot slower. And Taichi's better at that. Or maybe Naito's just phenomenal and hid that. But Taichi did some, he powerbombed Naito on the floor, and then Naito barely beat the 20 count, but he's still like kind of out of it. And Taichi does the Tranquilo pose right in front of Naito. He's doing the, the lip syncing deal with the mic stand, pretending to be a rock star. But a lot of good moves on both sides. Naito worked very, very hard to make sure this match would be good, and succeeded at it. But Taichi did a lot of stuff as well. I don't know that people really ever bought Taichi winning, even when he did a low blow and Ghetto Clutch, which was his old junior heavyweight spot where he won a lot. The crowd was behind Taichi, believe it or not, because they were just kind of liking to see the underdog do well, and he was doing well. They eventually Naito threw the ref, or threw the ref into the ref took a bump. Naito, when the ref was down, gave Taichi a low blow. Taichi had low blowed him earlier in the match, so it was retribution, and then broke the mic stand over him and threw the mic stand into the audience, and then hit the Destino and won. So then they had the Rey Mysterio video package. As far as anyone knows, as far as New Japan knows, he's still on the card. I've heard nothing new on Rey. Bobby Fish is having surgery, but Rey, I haven't heard anything new on what's going on with him. Nothing today. So the next was the Intercontinental title, Minoru Suzuki and Togi Makabe. And, we always rave about Minoru Suzuki, but this was a tremendous match. I mean, it was everything that Minoru Suzuki is great at doing. He legitimately, I mean, I don't know. He's, for this year, he may be, I don't want to say the best wrestler in the business this year, but he's had he had the match with Goto at his singles match. The Goto match at the Tokyo Dome was one of the best matches of the year. The match he had with Tanahashi where he won the title, was one of the best matches of the year. I would not say this match with Makabe would be one of the best matches of the year. It's one of the better matches of the year, but his 3 singles matches have all been great. I mean, I think that for this year, I mean, he's been as good as, I'm trying to think, has he been as good as Okada? Yeah, I think so. I think he's been as good as Okada. So I guess I could say he's maybe the best wrestler in the world this year. He just, his offense was strong. He's throwing those elbows that just like explode. There's a lot. Makabe was a good opponent for him because he did a lot of the, the elbow stuff back and forth and the hard stuff, the hard clotheslines, and just a lot of big stuff, the submissions, the work in the leg, knee bar, heel hook, and all that. Suzuki slammed a chair against Makabe's knee, and then Makabe threw. You know how sometimes in his big matches, like he'll be deep into the match. This was probably about 16 minutes into the match. They're going at a hard pace, and he just throws this drop kick, okay? And his drop kick is phenomenal. They showed the slow motion. His foot got to the forehead of Makabe, who was standing up. I mean, his drop kick was better than Okada's in the next match. It was timed, I wouldn't say better, but exactly as good, and it was higher, and it was just as explosive, and Okada's probably got one of the best drop kicks in the history of wrestling, and Suzuki's was better on this match. He ended up winning with a choke and then the gotch pile driver, and then he cut this promo that was phenomenal, just ripping on the fans. The more he ripped on the fans, the more he got cheered. He just called them losers. He hoped they all got hit by cars. And
it's terrible.
When they left the building, and they just cheered him more and more, and they would cheer him, and he would go, "I don't want your cheers." It was just incredible. He's the guy, and trying to think, did he didn't suggest anyone. The one thing that, and I didn't mention this, but after Naito beat Taichi, Taka Michinoku grabbed the mic and said that Zack Sabre is going to tap you out to Naito. So they're wrestling in a couple days in the New Japan Cup, which starts on Friday, and there's going to be like a match or two in the tournament, just every day or every other day. There's Kevin Kelly's going to be there the whole month, so there's going to be, the whole cards are going to be in English. So there's going to be, if you want to watch all the New Japan stuff, you get to watch pretty much every card this month in English. I don't know that I'm going to have the time to watch all of it, but I'm going to at least watch the New Japan Cup matches, which, so anyway, that starts in a couple days, and Naito and Zack is one of the best first-round matches. Then Suzuki just decked Oka. He's just leaving the ring. He sees Oka and just kills him dead with a forearm and walks away. And then Okada and Ospreay. So this match, it's interesting because I know some people who loved this match and some people who were disappointed by this match. So the thing is, if you were going in expecting Ospreay and Okada to do this high-flying moves match, you would probably be... disappointed would probably be a bad word to use because this match was excellent, but it wasn't that match. Ospreay didn't do anything compared to what he did like in the match with Hiromu. That was insane. He did nothing insane. He did a smart match where he didn't kill himself, where he didn't take any unnecessary risks other than one space flying tiger drop, and quite frankly, one big move when you're in the main event of a major show and you're a small guy. I mean, one big dive like that is not excessive by any means. And Okada, they did a lot of mat wrestling early. It was really good. Some British stuff, just old technical stuff, the bridges and the things like that you used to see back in the 70s. and they're both so good at it. So if you like seeing these guys in a completely different type of match, but a great match, then this is it. The last couple of minutes was the usual Okada last couple of minutes where you're in and out of the big moves and everything like that. Okada finally, Ospreay came with the Oscutter. Okada caught him in midair, hit the spinning tombstone and then the Rainmaker and pinned him. They teased going to a draw. They went over 25 minutes. There was a 30-minute time limit. I don't know that anyone really thought Ospreay could win the match, but it was a freaking great match. And there was a spot where Okada went for a Rainmaker, and Ospreay, like, he just, like, flipped over. It's like he kind of, like, twisted over him. And I'm trying to remember what he did, but it's just like this great reverse. Okada did the drop kick. Ospreay did this drop kick where he does the drop kick. He lands on his feet from the drop kick and then hit the enziguri like a continuation of the same move. Where was the Rainmaker spot? He did the that inverted 450 deal, which is called the implosion. Let's see, whatever. But anyway, it was a great match, great main event. Okada did a promo after, talked about wrestling Tanahashi, Naito, and Kenny Omega. His next match will be probably against the winner of the New Japan Cup, which will be... Well, Naito and Tanahashi are both in the tournament, although I just can't imagine them. I can't imagine Naito winning because I just think that this is too early to do the Naito rematch. It's Sakura Genesis. Tanahashi winning, I guess it's possible. I still think Tanahashi should be going after Suzuki first, but I think but I don't know who else, I guess he could. Who else he could go in there with? I mean, Ishii's in there, Elgin's in there. Who knows? Juice. There'd be a lot for Juice to put him at that level. Juice Robinson had a new outfit, a Superstar Billy Graham 1970s outfit. It was pretty cool. It looked completely ridiculous in 2018, but I always like the wrestlers that kind of like have like really cool looking costumes that like normal people would never wear. I always think that makes them colorful, and I thought that was actually a pretty cool little deal there. So a lot of New Japan stuff. Obviously, the Strong Style Evolved show on the 25th, and a lot of the whole tournament this month, and then Sakura Genesis on the 1st. And I saw the April schedule. There's a multitude of shows in April on New Japan World. Just a lot of stuff. But yeah, this was a real fun show to watch. Just it wasn't like your greatest show of the year, but for like just a Anniversary is not a big show. It's a sort of big show, but just everything worked. So that was it. But yeah, I would go out of my way to see the last two matches, especially if you're a Suzuki fan, and you're not predisposed into thinking Will Ospreay's got to do it, everything he knows and flip all over and everything like that to have a good match, and or if you're one of those people who thinks Will Ospreay isn't any good, you probably should avoid watching this match because you'll probably short circuit your brain because he's freaking great.
All right, we got a lot of WWE news to talk about here. The Smackdown show, 205 Live, Fastlane. What did you think of Smackdown?
The last two matches were real good. The AJ and Ziggler was it's AJ and Ziggler, and it wasn't like it was a pay-per-view match, but it was AJ Styles is give him 16 minutes with a good opponent. He's always going to be good, and he certainly was. It was nothing finished, but it led to something. So,
hey, can I ask you a question about this match?
Yes.
I thought the match actually was very good. I did not have high hopes for Ziggler. I should have. He's in there with AJ Styles.
He's good. He's really good. I mean, he's not. The thing.
I don't care about him is the problem. Like,
Well-
the match was good, but, like, they've killed this character for me. Like,
Yeah, well,
it's
I
been
don't-
buried 80 feet under. But my question is this. So he came back, like, 3 weeks ago. We've been talking about this. Like, the last 2 weeks we've been debating whether he's a babyface or not. He cut a heel promo on this show.
Yes, he did.
So is he a heel? What's going on here?
Well, in the match, I mean,
What
he's
is
like
happening?
I think he's a tweener that nobody cares about.
Oh, well, that's certainly going to help his character.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with him is like, there's just a million problems with him. His promos, the way he's scripted. The new thing is to me the problem is that when you do promos and you tell everybody that you're Shawn Michaels, you better be Shawn Michaels. And unfortunately, like, he is very good.
He's not Shawn Michaels.
But he's not, like, in a company with AJ Styles, you can't run around there. Like, with AJ Styles, there's really the only guy in this company who could go around with that gimmick of I steal the show and, the greatest and blah, 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 is AJ. And maybe Seth Rollins could do it, maybe, because he's really good as well. It wouldn't fit anybody else. I mean, nobody else can do that. And he's, it's like, I don't know. It'd be like, I don't know what a good analogy would be. It'd be like if you had like,
I don't think you need an analogy. I mean, you've explained it.
Yeah.
He's there talking about how he's the best,
and he's not. And I mean, it's like you're supposed to, I don't mind him saying he's the best or or to a degree. But when you go out there and you go, every night I steal the show, I'm the greatest performer there's ever been and all that, you have to be at least as good as you don't have to be as good as I mean, even like Shawn Michaels, but you probably have to be at least like a level where you're within shooting distance. And he's really not within shooting distance. He's a pretty good wrestler who's been booked like crap for years, who the company has killed with their booking. They've told the people over and over again for years that he's not worthy of your support, so the people don't support him anymore. There was a time when they did. Yeah, he did a big-time heel promo, but like when he gets put in the main event, it's like whoop-de-doo. Even though he's going to have good matches, it's just, yeah. I mean, they had a nice match, and Owens and Sami Zayn ran and attacked him, and everybody figured it's going to turn into a tag match. But Shane McMahon said, no, we're going to do a 5-way. So they did a 5-way. And actually, I thought the thing that I got from the 5-way is I thought Baron Corbin was really good. Because, you kind of expect with these guys, you really have 4 really good wrestlers. AJ's probably the best guy in the company. Sami Zayn really isn't far behind. Kevin Owens is great. And Ziggler is very good. And then you got Baron Corbin. But Baron Corbin hung with him. He didn't, stand out like in any negative way. I thought he was very good. And then in the end,
he looked great last week, too.
Yeah.
He's had 2 good weeks in a row.
Yeah. So he, but the finish was Sami Zayn, after promising Kevin Owens that he's going to lay down for him and it's Kevin Owens' time to win the title. He gave Kevin Owens the haluva kick and pinned him, and then said that he's the best, he's the most overlooked guy, and he's coming for the championship. So he is not, in fact, going to lay down for Kevin Owens if they're the last 2 or whatever in this, in this match. So there you go. The segment, the show opened with, where's my notes there?
Oh my God, this bizarre opening segment.
There was the Charlotte Flair thing?
Yeah.
Man, wasn't that scripting freaking hideous?
Well, it was just bizarre because not only was it like this back and forth, but then Bobby Roode's music hits. And like Bobby Roode starts coming down to the ring in the middle of a women's interview segment.
Well, they were about to pounce on Charlotte, so I thought it was like Bobby Roode was going to save Charlotte since they're a team in Mixed Match Challenge, but that didn't happen at all. It just
they cut away and it was over.
Yeah, they're all it's the Riot Squad surrounding Charlotte. They're about to attack her. Bobby Roode's music plays. He comes down. He's not running to the ring or nothing. And then I don't know what happened to the women. They just disappeared.
They were terrified by his music or something. It's bizarre.
I guess. But man, that verbiage Oh, it's freaking hideous. Just, I don't know what it is, but the writers really script the women. Not always, but more often than not, and certainly here, because the other that segment with the one with was it Naomi and Natalia, that scripting was hideous too. It's like the women's scripting is really bad. The Jinder Mahal scripting is real bad. Luckily, he didn't really do that. He actually wrestled. He wrestled Randy Orton. That was a boring match, and I guess that pretty much covers the show.
At least with Charlotte and Ruby Riott, they're like in the middle of the ring looking at each other and interacting. The stuff they do backstage where like the girls are shoulder to shoulder, but they're facing the camera, but they have to turn only their heads to look at each other, and that's the stuff that I can't get over. Yeah.
They set up 2 new matches for the pay-per-view. They Nakamura against Rusev. Rusev was pretty funny. With Aiden English. Aiden English.
You can't just make up your own day.
Yeah, he was pretty funny. The Rusev, Aiden English, because of Nakamura giving him a knee to the throat, apparently he cannot sing. And it was a sad day when Aiden English can't sing. It's like Billy Joel having a broken arm and not being able to play the piano, I think is what he said. So there was no Rusev Day song. And then Nakamura sang Nakamura Day, which was actually kind of cute. So, Nakamura in there, and then a tag team has been added with Becky Lynch and Naomi against Carmella and Natalia. It's a match. What are you going to say? Got the 6-way. It's the final pay-per-view. They can next year. They're not going to be doing this. They're not going to have a pay-per-view so close to WrestleMania, so they can start promoting WrestleMania earlier, and then have to sit there and wait for matches because John Cena's and Charlotte have matches, so they're holding up the announcement of their matches. And the Alexa Bliss match has got to be held up as well because everyone's got to wait for this pay-per-view to be over. And the SmackDown Championship match for Nakamura is held up because we don't know who's going to win that match. Although I sure hope it's AJ Styles. I mean, it's not. I know it's not Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn. If they go, I just can't imagine them putting Nakamura against Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. I mean or Dolph Ziggler. I mean that would just be hideous. I mean hideous. It's got to be AJ, right?
I would be pretty confident it's AJ, but
yeah, that's the other problem with these pay-per-views after the Royal Rumble is that because you kind of know WrestleMania, it really they are the most predictable of the year. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing because with New Japan they do the same thing. I mean, with New Japan, the guys who win G1, it's like really when G1 is over, you usually know what's going to be the Tokyo Dome main event, and then the rest of the year is just the champion and the number one contender winning all their matches.
Well, I mean, the top of the card is pretty obvious, but like Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, who knows? I don't know what they're doing there. Usos in the New Day. I mean, we know the Charlotte Ruby Riott thing, but like, what are they doing with Rusev afterwards? What are they doing with these women in the tag team match? There's Money in the Bank. I mean, there's still some things that they can do to mix things up, but yeah, the top of the card is. I mean, it should be. We should have a pretty good idea this far out what the WrestleMania card is, even if they're doing these sorts of matches.
Yeah, you should. If you're booking well, you should know the whole card at this point. Rusev, I'm figuring I don't think they have any plans for him. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else. I figure Bobby Roode. I figure it's Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, and Jinder Mahal in a 3-way. Because that's what they were building up before, and then
at WrestleMania.
For WrestleMania, yeah. And then the tag team, the Bludgeon Brothers have to be in there because they've been pushing the Bludgeon Brothers and the Usos. They did these teases for that, so that's the direction they got to go with at some point. It might be a 3-way with the New Day in as well. I wouldn't be surprised at that, just because the New Day is real popular and you probably want them on the show. So, and the Usos have to be on the show after that promo that they did a couple of weeks ago. I mean, about never being in WrestleMania. They have to be now. So, So I think that's probably where they're going. So
205 Live and mixed match.
Mixed match was more entertaining than usual. It was Strowman and Alexa Bliss against Jimmy Uso and Naomi. I mean, they're never like serious wrestling matches. They're just a bunch of, comedy spots that sometimes work and sometimes don't. But it was mostly Strowman and Alexa Bliss doing these spots the crowd was kind of getting into. Where like Alexa Bliss would be taking these falls and Strowman would catch her. And then one time he fell down with Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss is sitting like right on top of him, and they both look at each other because there's, and the crowd kind of got into it, and Strowman ended up killing Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso was running away from Strowman. Strowman caught him, power slammed him through a table, and Naomi got distracted seeing her husband destroyed, and Alexa pinned her. The audience was way up this week compared to the last couple of weeks, so maybe it's Strowman. I mean, the last time Strowman and Bliss were on, it didn't do that well, but this one was way up, and it wasn't like more people were watching Smackdown than other weeks. I mean, Smackdown had a normal rating. It was not a bad rating, but it wasn't as good as last week with Cena and AJ. It was down, 4% or something like that, a couple percentage points. 205 Live was like it always is, but maybe better. The Mark Andrews and Drew Gulak match was just really good. And, it was just like two guys who work well together that are, Gulak is really good when it comes to like just kind of solid mat wrestling, getting away from the comedy stuff that he'd been doing before. And and Mark Andrews, I think, is like probably the most underrated guy, or one of the most underrated guys in the entire business. He can do anything. He's acrobatic. His regular wrestling's good. And these guys had just a hell of a match that nobody cared about. Just, there were so many guys that got hurt too. AJ got cut. Who else? Mark Andrews. I think there were 4 people who got busted open in this match. Maybe Mustafa Ali. And who am I missing that got their mouth was bleeding from the mouth on this show? Whatever. I think there was 4 of them. But the so Gulak won with the Skull End Dragon Sleeper. So he goes to the semifinals. Maverick Drake pushed Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa, told them they should be a tag team. And Tozawa just goes, if this doesn't work out, you're fired. And then he gets that big smile. So anyway, they beat Scott James and Nemeth Alexander, and the fans were chanting jobber at those guys. Quick match. Tozawa over James with a senton off the top. And then Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy, also a good match. Buddy Murphy had his shoulder worked over. He went for a backslide. His arm gave out. Mustafa Ali pinned him with a casita. But these guys were good as well. So the final 4. So next week will be Roderick Strong and Cedric Alexander, which I got a feeling is going to be a great match with no heat. And then the week after will be Ali against Gulak, which would probably be a solid match. So probably Alexander against Gulak for WrestleMania? Something like that. Maybe Ali. I don't know. That's another match for WrestleMania that probably will not get a lot of reaction, although I'm sure it'll be technically really, really good.
Well, the subject of WrestleMania, NXT did their tapings, and we've got a bunch of matches for the TakeOver New Orleans show. All the TV is taped up until then, and they did do an angle with Johnny Gargano, but there was no announcement in front of the crowd of those guys having a match at Mania. So either Gargano and Ciampa is not happening yet.
No, I think they have to, because
they'll do a backstage deal.
Yeah, it has to be a backstage deal because they pushed it really hard. They were giving out signs. So like when this will actually be next week's show when they do the angle, the show that will air this coming Wednesday. And there's all these signs for Johnny Gargano, and those were all handed out. So, I mean, obviously they're doing something. He went to attack him, and I don't know how it all turns out, but yeah. So with Bobby Fish injured, and I guess he's going to need knee surgery, so they're doing a three-way, which would be the finalists of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, joined by Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. We'll have a three-way for the vacant championship. So the finals end up being Authors of Pain against Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne, who weren't even in the tournament. They replaced Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. And I know Tyler Bate was there. I don't know if Trent Seven was at TV tonight. But for whatever reason, they replaced him. So that makes me think that Roderick Strong is probably going to lose to Cedric Alexander, which is too bad because Roderick Strong's probably been the best guy in that tournament so far. But you know, because I can't see him going for the tag team title on, at Takeover and then wrestling at WrestleMania. I just don't see that happening. So that's how I kind of figure that. But the rest of the card, it's what it was before. But they're adding a North American Championship ladder match with Lars Sullivan,
EC3.
Yeah, they gave him a big push. I mean, I tell you what, I mean, EC3 talks pretty good. He's got a good physique. He carries himself well. He was pushed in TNA. I don't know, hopefully his I don't know. I'm not sure his wrestling is at that level. We'll see. Because he's in there with some people that are,
It's Adam Cole, EC3, Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Ricochet, and Velveteen Dream. Ladder match.
Yeah. Well, Velveteen Dream is hit and miss, too, although he's super over. I figure Adam Cole's going to be out of the match because he's doing the tag team. He's in the tag team match. But, Ricochet in a ladder match. So that's probably going to be insane. Killian Dane's there to catch guys. Lars Sullivan is in there to whatever, mass destruction. Velveteen Dream, we'll probably do some cool stuff. But that should actually be. So that my gut is that there's no ladder match then at WrestleMania, because it makes no sense to do a ladder match on Saturday before WrestleMania if you're going to do one at WrestleMania.
So we got that match. We had the triple threat match. We got Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler, and Andrade Almas, Aleister Black. Both of those for the titles.
Yeah. So they created a North American Championship. I don't know. They already have a UK Championship. We're kind of getting,
well, they don't really do anything with the UK title. They occasionally will have a match, but it's not like a regular featured thing on NXT TV. I don't know why.
They might as well be, though.
It should be.
Yeah, they should just feature it. Why add a championship when you already have one that you don't do anything with?
Well, I don't know. This is the North American title.
Yeah.
So the ratings, you mentioned briefly SmackDown, but we've also got the Raw ratings from Monday. Ronda Rousey, well, she was in the opening hour, but
yeah, it
was a normal hour.
It's impossible to read. The only stuff that I could say is that there were a lot of women who tuned out after the first hour and a lot of guys who tuned in after the first hour. I don't know exactly what that means. If you tuned in late, it's just that you tuned in late. I don't think that's, you're tuned, but women tuning out tells me that a lot of women, may have said, okay, we saw Ronda Rousey and she, we know she's not coming back. So we saw, because the one thing with women when it comes to Raw is they don't stay as long as the guys. Like when you have those big drops, it's usually like really heavy with women and light with guys. And this week was no exception. I mean, the women drop. Actually, this week the teenager drop was really high in hour 3. The hour 3 drop from hour 2 was the 4th biggest of all time. So I think a lot of that was that when they were plugging nothing except a Paul Heyman interview, and I don't think people are going to stay for a Paul Heyman. You know, I mean, for anyone's interview, when you're the biggest thing you're plugging is an interview. It's not going to keep the audience. And also, you know, it's like that third hour, if you think about it, I mean, the Heyman interview, first of all, that went till 14 minutes after the hour, that segment. And that's long, and people are going to, you know, you're going to get people tuning out on that anyway. I mean, that's the one thing where I watch Mixed Match Challenge where I can really see is that, like, when those matches end and those interviews start, my God, do people tune out. I mean, this one went from like 80-something thousand to 49,000 viewers on Mixed Match Challenge on Tuesday when the match ended and they started doing the promos. So it's just like, you know, people aren't sitting through interviews. You know, they just want to see. I mean, I know that it used to not be the case, but it's just the case now. And, you know, you had that third hour, you had that horrible Miz segment that went forever, and then the Heyman thing that went way too long. And I mean, that's, you know, those long interviews. The long interviews, it's like people don't want the long interviews. That's the one thing, you know, you could tell. But you got to make use of your script writers. You got a million of them, so you know what I mean? If you got a bunch of script writers, you got to write scripts. So, but the Raw number was the lowest. Let me think of this one. It was the lowest number aside from football season. You know, they had a lot of numbers, but football season shouldn't count. You know, when you can't really compare the ratings during football season with off season. So it was the lowest off football season number since July 24th. So it wasn't much lower than February 5th, but it was lower. But yeah, so it was whatever. The second week of Ronda Rousey, the reality is the rating was pretty low by current standards. So, but again, yeah, she's in the first segment. I don't know what you can really say. I don't think you can attribute anything, because if she did mean something and people left right after, you know, she was on, it would reflect to be a pretty bad rating. And you already knew Lesnar wasn't going to be there. Cena was on, but he was on early, you know, relatively early as well. So none of the key guys were there at the end, and that's why you know, I guess Roman Reigns was, but they never told you Roman Reigns was even going to be there. So, you know, and I don't know that he was going to make a difference anyway. So, that was the deal. So, the UFC rating was, okay, so UFC, the pay-per-view number looks to be maybe 220 to 260, maybe closer to, you know, I mean, better than most predictions, but you know, way down from Cyborg and Holly Holm, but it was going to be. But I don't know. I thought, I don't know, when I thought my prediction was 210, so it beat my prediction. The prelims did 905,000 viewers, which is good. It's a good number for the prelims, you know, based on current numbers. I think Mackenzie Dern had a lot to do with it. She had the peak number. So, I mean, she, you know, it looks like she moved ratings, because if you look at the buy rate and the amount of viewers that watch the prelims, you know, usually there's a correlation, but this one, the TV number was higher than it should be for a pay-per-view that did the kind of numbers that this one did. So that means that there's probably something on the prelims that people specifically wanted to see, and the peak was Mackenzie Dern's match. So, you know, evidence says that she drew. So, you know, and she was pretty, you know, being pushed pretty hard beforehand. I don't think she looked that impressive. I mean, she's awesome with her jiu-jitsu, but she needs to work on that. She needs to get her takedowns, because you can't really do the jiu-jitsu without the takedowns. And her stand-up, she's spirited and she's not afraid to fight, but her technique and stand-up leaves a lot to be desired. It's some of the worst in UFC right now. So, yeah, that's not really the greatest stuff. But so I don't know. There's a lot of people coming out of that show who could be something. Bryan Ortega he's definitely got some charisma there. Dern, I just don't think it's going to be a long time before she's good enough. And she may never be. I mean, but she is one of those people. I think that if she is good enough, she can be a star. So, for whatever reason, I don't really know what the reason is. I know people say, "Well, pretty girl," but I mean, there's a lot of women that are. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think her promo was anything special. There was nothing. I don't know. I mean, like when she was on the ground, man, she was great, but that was very little time in that fight.
We got 2 international WWE stories. There will be a 50-entrant Royal Rumble match, Saudi Arabia, April 27th. All the big stars, John Cena, Triple H, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, etc. First, I guess they've got a new 10-year contract. And this is part of this deal.
They're probably getting a lot of money. I mean, I know UFC got a ton of money out of Dubai. So they're going to get big shows. And
it's going to be a network special?
Probably. It's not officially.
I mean, they mentioned it on Smackdown, so I thought, man, if you're mentioning this on Smackdown, and you almost have to air it somewhere.
They mentioned on Raw, too. Yeah, no, I presume it's a network special, yeah. Yeah, I would suspect it'll air live. I mean, it'll probably be a bad time slot, but you can watch it at your own, whenever you want, so it's no big deal. But yeah, I think it's going to be taped for something, though. It'll either be TV or network special, yeah. So I don't know that, could it be a USA Network special? It's possible, but probably network special.
We also got an early October show in Melbourne at the MCG.
Yeah, they're really doing
100,000 seats.
Yeah. It's going to be quite ambitious.
Ronda Rousey winning the Raw title?
I have no idea. Back then, who knows? But yeah, they want to feature Ronda Rousey on it because Ronda did that big, that big crowd when she was there for the Holly Holm fight. So, 100,000. That's awfully big. I mean, when they go to Melbourne, I mean, granted they don't, and that's going to be a network special as well. But they go to Melbourne and do they do very well there, like 15,000 people, but it's a big jump from 15,000 to 100,000.
We got a Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up on Friday night. It is the 16th anniversary show. Dalton Castle, Jay Lethal for the ROH World title is the main event. We got the Motor City Machine Guns and the Briscoes for the tag team titles. We have got the Hung Bucks versus SoCal Uncensored for the 6-man titles. Kenny King, Silas Young for the ROH television title. And Cody's facing Matt Taven. We got 2 matches in the Women of Honor Championship Tournament. All coming up Friday from Las Vegas.
Yep. I mean, the lineup doesn't excite me that much when I look at it on paper. Especially when it feels like the big matches with those guys are, the Kenny Omega and Cody match in New Orleans and the Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi against Young Bucks match in Long Beach, rather than this pay-per-view, neither of which is on pay-per-view. And then this on pay-per-view, Dalton Castle against Jay Lethal. I mean, it's a match. Ring of Honor usually has good cards, but I mean, the thing is they are strong because I looked at the card like the one that they had this Hiromu's on this card, isn't he? Flip Gordon against Hiromu.
Yeah, Flip Gordon and Hiromu.
Yeah, that'll be a great.
And also
match.
Marty Scurll, Punishment Martinez. I didn't mention.
Yeah, Marty Scurll, Punishment Martinez.
Winner gets a future ROH World Title match.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it'd probably be all right, but I look at it like none of those matches. I think that the Young Bucks match with SoCal and Censored, because they always work so well together because they're all friends and everything. That'll probably be a hell of a match. And Saban and Shelly and the Briscoes will be a good match. I mean, the matches will be good, but it doesn't like grab me like when I go, I can't wait for this card. I can't say that I have that feeling on this one, but like I was going to say with they went to New York on this last weekend and they sold out for a card that was actually like, I mean, I guess with international stars, because you had Volador, you had Ultimo Guerrero, and you had Soberano, although Soberano's match totally blew. But, you know, it was like, what was the main event? It was just like an 8-man tag. And, I mean, it was a great match, but they sold out the Hammerstein. So they're in a spot right now where, you know, like, I just think that them, you know, just Ring of Honor itself is so much stronger than it's ever been from a business standpoint, that they probably will do decently well just because it's Ring of Honor pay-per-view and they have a lot of fans right now, more fans than they've ever had in the past. But I mean, you know, I don't know. It's like I'm sure it'll be a good show, and at the same time, it's like the stuff that I'm thinking about is not this week. It's down the line.
Got the Honor Club working. Have you had a chance to check it out yet?
I know that my thing is working. So, but I haven't watched the. I may try to watch some of the Manhattan show tomorrow if I have a chance. Oh, there's a million things that I need to watch. I still have to watch that Walter Timothy Thatcher match from Progress. And what else? That was the one that I wanted to watch this week and that I didn't get to yet. And that's pretty much it.
Let's jump into the mailbag here.
The Impact show tomorrow night is really strong. I mean, it's Austin Aries and Johnny Impact, and what's the other one? The Ishimori and Matt Sydal, I think. And what else? That was I mean, that's the key stuff. But it's as loaded an Impact show as there's been, and they did do their best ratings since the summer this last Thursday. So there feels like they are progressing in a positive manner right now. There at least seems to be a sign of that, and there has not been that sign in Impact for many years, really.
This person here, you were talking about the UK title, and is there even a point to it anymore? And this person says, is WWE still pursuing a UK TV show?
In theory, they are. Yeah. It's just not, you just can't snap your fingers and get a TV deal, though. Obviously, because they don't have one. And they've been snapping their fingers for a year now. Yeah, a year. And nobody's come to the table or come to the table with a good enough offer. I mean, I'm sure I know they've talked about it, but it's just not happened yet.
This person here says, why didn't Crockett build a pay-per-view around the original War Games match?
That would have done really well. They just weren't ready. They didn't have, it just wasn't, and it would have been hard because WWE was trying to lock them out of that, that thing. But there was a lot of interest. It was really well built up on television. That really would have been great to have their first pay-per-view, and I think it would have been really, really well. And it was a hell of a main event. I mean, that first War Games was a 5-star match. So it's too bad that they didn't. That would have been a great open on pay-per-view.
This person here says, Dave wrote in The Observer a few weeks ago, Io Shirai's end goal is still to head to the WWE. Does Dave know if she has rehabbed her neck injuries or will have surgery done to correct the issue?
It's not, the neck isn't the problem. The problem is a heart issue. So I don't know what her chances are. But they found that was the problem. There's no the neck is fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's probably not fine. It's probably the wrong way of putting it, but the neck is not the issue.
This person here says, I know Pac Song was a catalyst for Dusty Rhodes' babyface turn in Florida. Did he have an otherwise notable career? He seemed like a big guy for that time.
Okay, so the real catalyst was Gary Hart. Pac Song was one of the kind of monster-looking guy that Gary Hart managed, but he didn't say much. I was never that impressed with Pac Song, but he had like he resembled Baba a lot. He wasn't quite as big, but he had like, you know, the acromegaly, I guess, the giant head, kind of like Choi, the giant Korean. Choi Sung was Choi Hongman Choi. I would think he was about 6'5", maybe. And obviously he chopped. I mean, he got over. You know, it was a different era, and he would chop through like beer cans and chop through boards, and people would be real impressed with it. And he had the big hands, and he would do the claw. I mean, I saw him and Dusty Rhodes, you know, in singles matches like 7 straight weeks, and they were, put it this way, the undercards were great, and these matches were super heated and bloody, but there wasn't much movement. I mean, it was, Pac Song would put the claw on Dusty's shoulder. That's why Dusty's shoulders got all those scars. He'd blade his shoulder, and then they would do a finish. Or the next week, he would put the claw on his head. Dusty would bleed all over the place, and they would do a ref bump and a finish. And week after week, that's what we got. I mean, they drew sellout crowds because Dusty, it's when Dusty turned. So Pac Song was one of his really legendary opponents. It was probably his best drawing opponent that he ever had, at least in Miami, where you know, the Dusty Rhodes Pac Song program in Miami was just on fire. I mean, it was everywhere in the state, but Miami was the one where they were really turning people away. I mean, I remember, I mean, legitimately, it was on fire. And, you know, even though like people probably will remember Terry Funk and Harley Race and people like that as more vividly, but Pac Song is probably his best drawing opponent. And as far as his career, I mean, he was in Southern California. He did reasonably well. He did well in Kansas City. You know, he went from place to place. He was usually pushed during the 70s. Just kind of a short run. He got cancer by the late 70s. I remember seeing him when he had cancer, and he was just all, you know, he'd lost so much weight and couldn't do much, and it was really, really sad. And you know, I never remember him doing much anyway. But when he had the cancer, he didn't do much at all. And I remember, like, I didn't know he had the cancer, but then I found out because there was like, you know, it's like, God, he's so terrible. What's he doing here? And it's like, well, he's got cancer, so they, you know, everybody, they wanted to book him strong because, you know, he just so he could make some money, I guess. But yeah, I mean, as far as work goes and matches go, yeah, not so much. Was he effective with Gary Hart as his manager because of his size and the Oriental thing and the martial arts thing that everybody thought? Giant Korean. Yeah, he was pretty effective with Dusty and reasonably effective in that role in other places.
Person here says, for the WCW wrestlers who decided to sit out the remainder of their contracts after WWF bought the company, who paid them? Was it Turner? Did WWF have to pay those who didn't want to work for them or negotiate a new contract?
It was the remnants of WCW. They formed Universal Wrestling Corporation, which took in no money and spent all kinds of money.
It was there to pay these contracts.
That remained on the books to pay off these deals. Yeah, and there's a lot. The amount of money. I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, when we talk about all the losses that WCW had, we never talk about those last 2 years when they were paying all those $1 million contracts with no revenue coming in. I mean, those losses were even more than, like, because those weren't WCW losses, those were UWC losses, but they really were WCW losses. What a frickin' disaster that company was at the end. I mean, oh my God, it's like, and people, like, I don't think people defend it, but they defend some people that were making those disastrous decisions all the time. And it's like, man, sorry you guys didn't live through it, or if you did, that you didn't have a clue, because that was that was probably the worst major company ever. I mean, even AAA, like from a business standpoint, you know, they're not so bad. The wrestling's crap, but they, you know, they didn't nosedive like WCW did.
Source here says, is Kevin Dunn producing 205 Live?
I think so, yeah. Why wouldn't he be?
Would this be the first time he is producing a Triple H run show?
Yeah, I guess so.
This person here says, is WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia for a 50-man Royal Rumble to include a women's Royal Rumble?
No.
Person here says, is Ray the planned special character for the next WWE video game?
Do not know, doubt it. I don't know that he's a big enough star for that role. I don't know who's in that role. I mean, like, you know, Kurt was really obvious last year. I don't know if they have a rabbit to pull out of their hat this year, like someone like that. Maybe Rhonda, actually. You know that?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be, actually.
Yeah. I haven't even talked to those guys, but, you know, for a cover person, she might be the one. Just because, I mean, she is, you know, except for Cena and maybe Brock, and probably including Brock, she's the most famous there, right? I mean, is there anyone else more? I mean, Undertaker, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, to the mainstream, I don't think Undertaker's more famous than
Ronda. Probably not.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe she should be. I don't know. That'll make people really happy, won't it? Ronda Rousey on the cover of the video game, if they do that.
Well, she's signed to the company, so it shouldn't make anybody mad.
I'm not talking about people in the company. I'm talking about, you know, the fans who want her to fail.
Well, I disregard those people.
Yeah.
Do you think it's likely the episodes of Raw SmackDown will be made available on the network quicker after the new TV deal? I believe the current delay is a month. Do you see that going down?
It's all a matter of negotiations.
Dude, if I'm paying them hundreds of millions of dollars, then, like, Raw's not on there for a month.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honest to God, I could see it being like 10 days. I don't see any reason why not. But, you know, it wouldn't be that week. No way. But I could see 10 days. I mean, if I was running a network, it wouldn't bother me if it was 10 days. But, yeah, I know what you're saying. You know, but I'm not the ones paying them.
They're not paying them more money for people to have easier access to not watch it on their network.
On their station. Yeah, I know. You're paying so much money, you want somewhat exclusivity.
Spurs says, with the Bar doing the angle where they have no worthy challengers, any chance War Machine debuts against them?
None whatsoever. Yeah, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever?
Well, none whatsoever. As much of none whatsoever as I could say. I mean, it's like anything's possible. You know, I mean, they could go and change their mind tomorrow, but they do have plans, and War Machine is not the plan. In fact, right now the plan is for them not to have a match, but that could change. But the people who they're working with, it's not the Hardys either. Wait. The plan is for the Bar not to have a match? Right now, yeah. The plan's for them not to have a match.
So they're the tag team champions. They have no challengers.
So that's a shoot. They have no challengers.
You know it's fake. Like,
what?
You just make challengers.
Well, I thought maybe it was going to be the Revival, but that sure didn't. That sure that thing lasted all of one match.
Like, you can't bring in another team from somewhere. I mean, it's impossible for them to have challengers.
It's not impossible.
This is ridiculous.
It's not impossible. They just don't have them. They got a full card.
So they'll be like in the Royal Rumble or the men's Andre the Giant Battle Royal, something like that?
No.
So they're not on the show.
Maybe no, they're on the show.
Okay.
They may be in that, but I don't think so. I don't think they're in that either.
What are you not telling me here?
Nothing. They're not
bizarre.
No, they just that's shoot. I thought it was going to be the Hardys. But
Okay, so if they're not in a tag team match as the tag team champions, why would they not be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal? What else would they do? Just stand there, come out and stand there, and then leave?
I don't know. Maybe they could be the host of the show. Although I doubt they'll be that. The new remember the New Day did that one year.
Yeah, they barely did anything, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, there's a million skits they can do. You know, who knows?
The Bar.
Sheamus talks pretty good. SARS, you know, I mean, yes.
So they can't come up with an idea for a team for them to wrestle, but they're going to come up with a bunch of ideas for them to do skits at WrestleMania?
Could be.
All right. What is the WrestleMania attendance looking like?
It's not sold out, but it's doing pretty good. It's nothing to worry about.
What are we talking about? 65,000?
What was it before? Yeah, I think it was like 65,000 sounds about right. Yeah.
So it says if Raw moved to Fox, could they be canceled?
Fact, you know that none of the four. I was surprised. I actually looked this up yesterday. None of the 4 shows are sold out. I thought that the Raw would at least be sold out and the Hall of Fame, but I get tickets to any one of them, and not that expensive either.
You know, maybe it's just me, but like I was interested in the Raw after WrestleMania until like a couple of years ago, and then I wasn't anymore. It was like the last few Raws after WrestleMania, they've done some things, but as a fan, it's kind of like, do I really want to stay one extra day for a show that, I mean, it's not like it used to be. Like, there were a couple of Raws after WrestleMania that were like, man, if you miss those, you just felt terrible. I did not feel that way the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, well, you know, the problem is that, you know, they don't really want to do a lot because they want to do something because they want it to be special, but at the same time, they're afraid to do anything because the crowd's so unpredictable.
Yeah, it was mostly just I'm there's a bunch of goofy chants and nothing's happening, and it's sort of like, nah.
Yeah.
I miss nothing going home.
I've never, I didn't even go to the Raw after WrestleMania when it was in San Jose. I mean, it's like I just don't have any inclination to sit there and, you know, watch the beach balls and the chants, you know? I mean, I watch it on television. It's fine. I don't know. I mean, to me, I lose something when it's a big show and I'm not watching it on TV when it comes to WWE. I mean, I would just much rather watch the TV of a big show because if you don't, I don't know. I mean, it's, yeah, I suppose that when they come back to San Jose for WrestleMania, I'll go to the WrestleMania Live, but I cannot imagine going to a WrestleMania Live, you know, now because I'd have to go home and watch 6 hours, 7 hours again. And, you know, it's just too much time, and that's such a busy week with a million shows. That week is going to be insane. I mean, it's always insane, but there's going to be so much quality. I mean, when I look at the lineups of these different shows, you know, like these lineups are freaking out of this world. I mean, in all seriousness, I doubt WrestleMania will be one of the 10 best shows of that weekend, and I know it won't be one of the 5 best. I mean, I look at that stuff, you know. I mean, NXT is going to probably be better. The Super shows, there's 2 of them. They'll probably both be better. The Ring of Honor is probably going to be better. You know, whatever, this one of those evolves. And I mean, the Crash has some killer matches on their show. I mean, who knows? Maybe even the Lucha Underground versus TNA show. I don't know if it'll be better, but it's different. I mean, I'm not going to go say that one's going to be better, but man, there's so many good shows that weekend. It's insane.
Well, everybody, on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. The New Observer should be up very, very soon on the front page, so you can check that out. Back issue went up on Monday. We got a lot of new shows to check out, so head up there to the front page, and that is it. We will talk to you again after a while.